Hello guys, MikuChibi here. This video is a guide on how you can build your set against Chaos Warden, currently one of the hardest boss in Chaos Showdown for endgame content as for now. I will showcase you 3 different builds that you can try out, and it is mainly only for Rapier user. So for those that are using bow and spear, I'm sorry I don't have any experience with this weapon. I will also showcase my build that I used to fight Chaos Warden and beat it under 8 minutes, and I hope this video will be helpful for you to understand how Chaos Warden works and get some inspiration on how you can build around your skills. Before we jump into the strategy and builds, we need first to learn about the boss. Prison Warden Chaos is one of the newest boss for Dark Black Armor series in Chaos Showdown with 2 other bosses, Chaos Last Number and Chaos Legion Butterfly. It is level 195 with 70 million HP and 75,000 defense. It has 2 weakness elements, Frost and Dark, but a lot of other resistance, which you can see in the numbers here. So having a Frost Dark skill will be really good here. Chaos Warden can apply 3 status on you: Paralyze, Item Seal, and Curse, depends on what ability they use. There are 7 abilities that it can use. The first one is his slam with his weapon. It has a long range attack, so it is better to dodge from the side or you will get all 3 status on yourself and can't move. The second ability is a small AoE that can inflict you with Item Seal and Curse. The third ability is his Mega AoE, which can deal a lot of damage and give you 3 status. The fourth ability is his focused target, which doesn't do a lot of damage and you can easily dodge it. The fifth ability is his falling metals, which you can easily dodge. If you get hit, you will just take damage with no additional status. The sixth ability is a combination of his big AoE and his falling metals, which you can tank if you want, since it doesn't give any status and you will notice him using it once you see him go back to the middle. The seventh and last ability is his break mode, which can deal a lot of damage. You can either dodge it or break it if you have the right skill to do it. When it comes to Chaos Recollection, it has 3 phases. At 75 HP it will gain its first recollection, at 50 it will gain its second, and at 25% it will gain its third. And with this information we can now start making builds. There are 3 builds that I have seen people using: pure damage build, crit build, and switch damage build. Let's start with the pure damage build. This requires a lot of limited skills that are hard to get and are limited to gacha, which also make this set an expensive build. You're also building around having Frostbite for a better synergy. The core skills record you need is a Dark Rapier mod, so either Sparkle of Life Yui and Offensive Turn Asuna. The Dark Rapier burst, of course, is an important day Asuna, and a Rapier skill that can apply Frostbite, such as Obsidian Guardian, Passionate Partner, and Lively Jester. You don't need any skill to lower Frostbite resistance since it doesn't have any element resistance. And for the 4th skill, it can be a buff, debuff, or use a switch gain skill, or even a connect skill that has all these 3. For passive, you do need a Power Rise 3 and 4 and more attack, for example Advanced Trooper or 5 Sharp Weapon 3, and some Paralyzed resistance, and on the ring you can add another Paralyzed resistance to increase your resistance. So an example pure damage build can look like this. With this build, you have a lot of synergy with your skills. For example, when you use Lively Jester Yuki, you are applying Frostbite and Weak Frost 3 debuff to Warden, which helps you to deal more damage, especially your burst when you activate it. Also, it helps you to burst sequence, which is Dark, Dark, Frost, and Frost. If you activate the burst, you're applying a Weak Frost 4 debuff, which stacks with your previous debuff. And also, your burst deal more damage because there are Frostbite on the boss, which increases your attack by 3% and it doesn't use any SP. Flower Garden is the best support skill in the game. It gives a lot of switch gain and also is a fast animation, which means you have time to use another skill or dodge an attack. Plus, it also only costs 22 SP to use. With all of these buff and support, your dark mode will be dealing more damage to the boss, both even normal and even switch. In total, you are using only 94 SP in one rotation, So you're left with 6 SP, which you can use to dodge an attack from the Warden. For passive, you have Charm of Safety Kirito, which is an advanced triple 5 with a Dark Convention effect, which can increase your dark damage skill up to 25%. And it has a Paralyzed Resistance, which is a good combination with Mischievous Eyes Leafa. With those two, you have over 100% Paralyzed Resistance, and you will never get paralyzed by Warden. Then we have Powerful Transport Reclaim that gives you 800 flat attack when you're using Frost, which in this case you're using your Rapier. Also, you gain more attack if there are Frostbite on the boss, which is why you want Lively Yes to Yuki in the set. Lastly, we have Cute Wolf Asuna and Sleepaway Sachi. Both are Powerized 3 and 4, which gives you a lot of attack boost into your stats. This is an example of a really stacked pure damage build. Your run is between 4 to 7 minutes, depending on how much you invest on your character, like proficiency skills, and what you have on your Koharu. The goal with this build is try to deal a lot of damage before it reaches its breakpoint. By that I mean you want to reach 50% of its HP, so it will activate its second recollection, and you want to break it. By breaking it, it will lose all its buff, and you can easily deal more damage till it reaches its third recollection. If you're running marks on your Koharu, try to hit it with marks with your mod skill and your burst skill. If you don't have Growing Happiness or Glimmering Flash, you can use any Rapier mod fodder that gives a lot of attack, like Sparking of Life Fury or Charging into Future Asuna. Use any fodder that gives you a lot of attack. If you don't have Dark Burst Asuna, you can add a support skill to support your mod. If you don't have any Frostbite skill, you can add another support skill. If you don't have one or more of the passive, just try to add a passive that gives you a lot of attack, like Veteran Sword Technique or Enhance, or a passive that boosts your Dark Frost damage. And if you don't have Paralyzed Resistance skill record, you can use a combination or Advanced Triple 2 a passive for your ring. If you're wondering how to use the rotation, my friend Rave made a video of his run on the Chaos Warden. It is a similar set, and this is not his best run, but it is something you can take and learn from. The video is going to be in the description. This build is more if you want to crit against Chaos Warden, which is possible if you don't have a Dark Burst Asuna. So this set is almost the same as pure damage build, but a little bit different skill record, like the fodder and stuff. So an example of crit damage build set, you can be like this. As you can see, instead of having attack fodder, you can run high crit rate fodder such as Unhateable Monster Koharu or Aiming for Your Heart Asuna, and even add some crit damage if you want. So the strategy with this build is that your goal is to try to get the first recollection as soon as possible, because you want to remove the recollection and it's crit resistant. So you're going to need to run Frost Break skills on your second set, because you want to fill the break gadget as soon as possible. And I have an example from a player Hyde, a really strong player that didn't have the Dark Burst Asuna, so he made a unique build for himself. I will share his run in the description if you want to watch the full run, but in short, he tried to reach the first recollection as soon as possible, which you can see him doing. After that, he switched to a second set where he has his break skill and using Axel skill to be able to spam his break skill. By doing this, he will fill the break gadget really fast till it's break and remove the recollection and the crit resistant buff, which is at 400%. Once the crit resistance is removed, the Warden will still have 400% crit resistance as base stat, so that is why you want to have a crit rate fodder in your Rapier mod. With this build, you should be able to do it between 5 to 8 minutes, which is a bit slower than the pure damage build, but it still works. This build is mostly for the players that don't have the Dark Burst Asuna, the Break skill, or even Frostbite skill. Switch Damage build is the set I'm currently using when I'm farming the Chaos Warden, since I don't have any of the skills for the other builds. It's a bit slower compared to the other two, but it's still viable. For this, you're gonna need a Dark mod and a Switch combination buff. For other two slots, you can put more buffs, debuffs, and for passive, you do want to stack a lot of attack element passive, so for example power 3 and 4, Advanced Trooper and Frost Attack. This is my build. I have offensive turn Asuna with charging into future and white future as my fodder. Then I have Vermilion Bird Asuna to dodge or evade a Warden's attack, and Aiming for Your Heart Asuna for combination buff, and lastly Flowing Guardian for switch gain. With this, I'm able to use 94 SP, which spare me with 6 SP to use my dash if I need to dodge. For my passive, I have 2 Power Rise 3, Unsinkable Barrier Hercliff, and Gaze into Future Koharu. And yes, I know Power 3 doesn't stack, but I mainly use the other effect that this passive provide. Hercliff gives me 10% HP, 20% attack, and 20% skill power, which is really good. Koharu gives me 40% dark element and 20% attack. You might also have noticed I have using 3 holy skills in this set, which does 50% less damage because of the Koharu passive. Since I only mainly focus on the switch damage, the other skill doesn't really matter that much and are more used as a utility skill to help me to kill the boss faster. So the damage on this holy skill doesn't really matter that much. And for the last 2 passive, they are War God Incarnate Xenon, which gives me more attack depends how high level I am, and 7 Phonic Hymn Lifa, which is a Power Rise 4 that gives me more attack. And on my ring, I have Blue Will Juju, which gives me 90% skill power on my switch. With this build, I was able to defeat Chaos Warden in under 8 minutes. The strategy is to get as many switches as possible, but also be cautious to not get hit by Chaos Warden's abilities because you don't have any Pylos resistance passive. You want to reach the second recollection before it breaks, because if you break it before the second recollection, your run will be 2 to 3 minutes slower because you don't have anything to break or remove the recollection. By reaching the second recollection before it breaks, you are able to remove everything, all the buffs, and you save 2 to 3 minutes. It is more risky and more concentrated run, but it will be worth it in the end if you don't want to invest so much into the other skills by doing the gacha. With this set, your run should be around 7 to 10 minutes, which is a slower but still a viable, and it is only worth using this set if you don't have any good skills for the other 2 builds and you have time to grind. I will also share my full run of the Chaos Showdown so you can watch it and see how well the run was. And that was all the 3 builds that you can use for your inspiration to start to build your Rapier set for the Chaos Warden. If you do have any question, let me know in the comments. I will try to answer them if I can. And that's for me. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next video. Take care and bye bye.